You're welcome to this edition of The Inside. I am Bable Jonathan. The 5-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon continues killing, maiming, and destroying. The divisional officer of Equinoxe Titi, the mayor of that locality, and 5 other persons killed in an ambush. They died in an explosion in Bekora village, and we're going to be analyzing this and the evolution of the conflict or the security tensions in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. And of course, we'll continue talking about the way out of the troubled waters. We'll also analyze the strike action of government school teachers across the Republic of Cameroon. Operation Death Chalk has been on for over 2 weeks now. Teachers have been out of their classrooms and students stranded, especially those preparing for official examinations. The teachers are demanding for better working conditions and, of course, for better treatment. They are decrying the poor treatment they have received so far, some of them for 10, 15, 18, and many more years, as they have been teaching in very precarious conditions. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Our guest today is one of the seasoned, outspoken, and courageous politicians in the Republic of Cameroon. Njang Denis is the national president of the Popular Action Party, the PAP. Mr. President, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babila. It's my pleasure being here. This is not my first time of sharing this platform. I'm always honored whenever need be. As you earlier said, I want to use this opportunity to also greet the millions of viewers of Equinoxe, Cameroonians of good faith, and my father and mentor, Justice Aya Paul Abine, and many supporters, sympathizers of the Popular Action Party.
Right. What's your analysis of the killing of the divisional officer of Equinoxe Titi, the mayor of that locality, and 5 other persons?
Well, this debate has been very, very recurrent. Issues of killings, wanton destructions, kidnapping and all the likes, all sorts of barbaric acts, they are no longer in news. This war has been ongoing for close to 6 years now. And at our own level, as a political figure at the party, we have come up with a lot of declarations, we have come up with proposals to see how we could end this senseless war. But unfortunately, those who pull the strings, I'm talking about those who handle issues in the regime, rather sees it differently, and I'm tempted to believe and to be convinced that the ongoing crisis is rather more profitable for some individuals who have the final saying or have the decision to take as far as this ongoing war is concerned. You made mention of the recent killing of the divisional officer of Equinoxe Titi together with the mayor and other 4. I think I learned the CPDM section president. May their soul rest in peace. I use this opportunity to also extend my sincere condolence to all the families, because all lives matter. We have condemned killings in all forms. Whosoever is a victim of this crisis, be it those who the government termed the Amber Boys, or they call themselves the Amber Boys, civilians and military, or whosoever who is a victim of this senseless war declared by the regime, or the regime sees it as the possible way to use their ideology to impose on the people of the former West Cameroon. I think that today history will vindicate some of us, and the population of Cameroon will be able now to identify that those who are really fanning insecurity war are those who in the regime. Because at first we were counting on the common man. When the common man died, there is no news. When the Abba, no news. Military, but this time around, it's now targeting those who are seen as those who can create the solution or propose a solution. Let me take you a little bit far. Before the killing of this present of this deal, we have had cases of top personalities who have been victims of this ongoing crisis.
The first
was the divisional officer of Batibo. He was killed, murdered by the arms group. Nothing from the government. The only thing was he had to be replaced. The government remained silent apart from the normal communique. Later was the the regional delegate of social affairs. I can vividly recall. He was kidnapped in Northwest. He was kidnapped until he even pleaded with his ministry to do something. And up to date, we have no information of that regional delegate. Later, we start witnessing kidnapping of chiefs, traditional rulers, and everything just continued as usual. And I also remember the SDO of Lebi Alem, the former SDO of Lebi Alem, who almost missed being assassinated. In fact, his vehicle was really shattered, and he sustained a lot of injury where his head was even affected, and he was forced to go on retirement, and everything continued. Later, we start having kids who have been victims. The case in Kumba, the one in Equinoxe Titi that we are still going to discuss, and now we have the mayor of Manfi. The Manfi was killed. So why am I giving a plethora of all these personalities? I mean, before coming out to the present one that we are about to talk, the killing of the deal of Equinoxe Titi. Even before then, we have 6 divisional delegates from Njang, kidnapped, 1 killed. I have made several requests. Why has the government been so adamant to say something about the whereabouts of these 6 regional divisional delegates? Today we are now talking of the deal. I am shocked that our brothers in the east of the Mongo, the Francophone population, up till date, are unable to go on the street and march to put an end to this senseless war. All of them have become so quiet.
We'll talk a little more about the responsibility of the population in a short while, because the governor, Benau Kalia Bilai, told the people that they have to collaborate with the military to put an end to this war. We'll come to that in a short while. Now, when we see a divisional officer and a local authority like the mayor of Equinoxe Titi ambushed and killed in an explosion in this manner, what can we read within the lines as far as the evolution of the war is concerned, the evolution of the protest on the part of the armed groups who are fighting and protesting against some of the things that they consider as an attack on the Anglophone's personality?
That is it. That's why I earlier said that it is time for people to open their eyes. What even shocked me, or what even always called my attention on this issue, is the attitude of the other colleagues. Because I know that in every job description, there's always a show of solidarity. But with what I am seeing, do you know that the adamant approach and the quietness of colleagues towards their friends, towards their fellow colleagues, vis-a-vis their fellow colleague, is shocking? Because if one is touched and the others rally and create that solidarity to fight for the security and the interest of the other, let me tell you, you can't touch a bike rider, or a bike rider can't just be killed like this, and bike riders don't rally to protest for the insecurity on the security situation on their fellow colleagues. You can't touch the motor taxi drivers. One, just remind that a taxi driver is killed under doubtable conditions, and taxi drivers don't come out in their numbers in solidarity. But you look at it, because of personal interest, ego, everyone is quiet. If all divisional officers, or local sub-divisional, we'll call them the GOs, the GOs, would have come out. Because if one is assassinated, or let me say murder, like the case in Batibo, you realize that all of them, nobody saying anything. Rather, they encourage the government. I know that yes, they might be playing, or let me say they are doing their role as administrators, but there must be that act of what we call solidarity. None of them could even show any sign of solidarity, to even show any act of sympathy to their fellow colleague. On the contrary, immediately one is killed, another one is on a standby to replace the other. Now the government also sits. Good. The other case, the regional delegate has been taken to know. You don't see any activity, no manifestation from all the regional delegates. Nobody saying no solidarity. Life continues. You go right to it's called the traditional rulers. How many traditional rulers have been kidnapped, some killed? All traditional rulers remain quiet up to date. The president of is it House of Chiefs? Yes, I think who is a traditional, who doubles as a traditional ruler. Up to date, he's still in the hands of his captivities. We don't know anywhere about. And what are traditional rulers doing? They still support the regime. They are still there to accompany the regime, to let Cameroonians know that everything is ongoing smoothly. We can go and so forth and so on. What about parliamentarians? I was shocked when Senator Kemende, may he so rest in peace, was brutally murdered, assassinated, and in his own home by unidentified gunmen. Even a communique from the Senate, I never saw. I mean, just a communique pertaining to the demise of Senator Kemende. I never saw anything. Not to talk of a show of solidarity from his fellow member of parliament. I'm very, very convinced that those in the regime are responsible for the precarious situations that are ongoing, because the thing has taken a different twist. You're blaming
the regime, but here we are talking about something that has been done by armed men. They ambushed the convoy of the divisional officer, and they killed 7 persons, and you are attributing it to government. You are blaming government for that.
There are two things here. If you claim to guarantee my security, that you are the one that has all what it takes to protect me, and you have decided to become the hunted, I hope are we on something? Yes, you are the one that led the population to understand that you are there to protect them. And the person who is supposed to guarantee such a security is now being targeted. The question now comes back. If you, who is supposed to give that, guarantee that security, and you are being targeted, then there could be a question mark on your level of, it's a question mark on your protection. It is meaning that it's either you are not fit, or what you are saying is either you are not fit to guarantee that security, or if there is insecurity, it means that your adversary is already has overshadowed you. And if your adversary has, you are proving that your adversary has overshadowed you in terms of the security concern, automatically you just need to back up and let the population understand that as from now henceforth, take decisions now from those who hold the guns. Because you cannot tell me that who gives information on the day-to-day activity of, a GO cannot just go out on a tour and then those guys just get the information like that. It means that there must be someone who gives a day-to-day that gives an update on the activities of the GO.
The security of the GO is punctured from within.
That's what I said. It's punctured from within. And even the case of the 13 bees that were killed in it's not just easy for you to attack a convoy of bee military officers of such caliber. I'm talking about bee, well trained, and 13 of them finished together with their armor car destroyed. With no exchange of gunshots. No victim from the opponent. I'm talking about the armed boys. And they are displaying show of victory and seize their guns. And then you are telling me that there is nobody within that gives information to those guys. No, that's why I still insist that there are two things here. It means that from every indication, if you cannot guarantee that, and now you are the hunted, automatically you are already telling the population that all the propaganda that I tell you people that I can guarantee your security, I can protect you people, from now henceforth, please seek your security in the hands of the so-called amber boys that they have termed them terrorists. That is what I see. That's how I see.
However, government maintains, the governor of the Southwest region said it, that the situation is under control. Government has its hands on the situation. We will talk about the responsibility of the population in a short while. Time for us to go to the newsstands, and we're going to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week. Immaculate Fogwe with the press review.
Municipal updates reports sacrilege in Menchum, Isufon and wife assassinated. The Post says armed group attacks in Dian, blame on little military presence. As reported by the Chronicle Times, after rampant killings in Dian division, Dian women say enough is enough. The women condemn in a statement atrocities carried out by gunmen and separatists in the division. The Garden Post blames the recurrent separatist attacks in Econdo Titi on economic interest and porous borders. Cameroon Echo says Econdo Titi massacre, government frustrates 8th of March morning rally. The Post Weekender, government's payment of 2.7 billion francs CFA fails to end the teachers' strike. Another edition of Municipal Updates describes President Paul Biya's 2.7 billion grant to teachers as a stitch in time. The Sun, new Limbe City Mayor Paul Efomengali, the chosen one, the newly elect, says he is well prepared. Newswatch, as Parliament opens, grim battles to mark National Assembly Senate Bureau elections. Southwest in the eye of a storm over who replaces Lifaka as National Assembly Deputy Speaker. The Median, 2020-2021 Cameroon Cup Finals. Chief Joseph John Gute to represent President Paul Biya at the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium. The final will pit PWD of Bamenda and Ash of Douala.
We are still with our guest, the National President of the Popular Action Party, the PAP, Njang Denis. The governor of the Southwest region, when he visited the Kondo Titi after the killing of the divisional officer, and of course the mayor of that municipality and 5 other persons, he called on the people, as he has been doing, to collaborate with the military in order to put an end to such happenings within that area and the Southwest region at large. That collaboration, what do you think about the collaboration between the military and the people?
Well, at times I don't want to hit on the military. They are doing their job. They are compelled to take commands, to obey orders. But there is a level where I believe I've seen many countries where if you call yourself a Republican military and you are there to serve, but the people are not individuals who want to use the military for their selfish interests, I think it's time where the military also needs to understand that we need to be that Republican and take their responsibility into their hands and fix things. The coup d'etat in Burkina Faso was because they accused the president Kabaore of not being competent enough to handle the insecurity situation in Burkina Faso. I think even likewise Mali. because that is the role of the military. The military is there to protect the population, to protect the integrity of the territorial integrity. But I'm tempted to believe that I think the military also has a role here. It's not an issue of the population, because the population here is just a victim of two camps. If the population collaborates with the military, the population becomes a target from the armed groups, or they call the Amber Boys. If the population collaborates with the Amber Boys, they become a target to the military. We have seen many cases where the Amber Boys attack the military, and on retaliating towards that attack, the military, everybody around that area becomes a target and a victim. At times, kill innocent souls, citizens, just because out of frustration. So it is time that the military knows to understand that we are fighting. They should ask themselves, who are they fighting? And what is the reason and the purpose for what they are fighting for? If they ask the military should sit themselves and take an introspect. What are our priorities as a military? Is it to settle a political issue that politicians can just sit and on a round table? So to me, I will not index the population in any way. Rather, the principal group of people, to me, who are solely responsible for, based on my experience on how some crisis of such magnitude is concerned, is the military. The military, I am not saying that they should,
but the military,
they can, because since both sides don't want to agree, the military, because we can't change the fact that the Anglophone crisis is a political issue that does need sincere dialogue for you to speak with your opponent with no preconditions. But now, if the government, because
what about the security component? The security component of this.
Who is creating insecurity? Who is creating insecurity in the northwest and the southwest? Nobody is creating an insecurity. If today there is a sincere dialogue where people sit together on one table with no preconditions and they discuss certain issues, there will be total security. At that, even the population itself will be able to collaborate with whosoever that refuses to abide to the conditions of the discussion.
From what you said earlier, it can be concluded that collaboration with the military is almost impossible as we speak now.
You can't continue telling the population to collaborate.
But the governor, who is calling on them to collaborate, and the generals of the 2nd Military and Gendarmerie regions also calling on them to collaborate with the military. Do they not know what you're saying now?
So, please, I don't know. I know I can't ask you a question, but I just want to clear it out here. Is it the population that gave information to the armed group to ambush and to create explosive to know that the minister, the divisional officer is on a trip? Is it the population that gave information to the armed group to know that divisional delegates are on a tour? Is it the local population that gave information to the Amber Boys that the military convoy will be passing through this time and with this number of military personnel inside, and for you people to go and attack? Is it the population? So it is to tell you that there is something that these people are just trying to play a game over nothing. The governor himself, who always claimed to say you people should collaborate, he himself went with an helicopter. They tell you that they know the truth, but everything they're hiding. And that's why I am calling on the Republican military that they say they are Republican to take their responsibility. They will take their responsibility and fix the country. Because if the politicians, it is very normal. I am a politician, and I'm speaking on the perspective of a politician that might not necessarily move on blood to take power, that's what I criticize. That's why you see we had to boycott elections in 2018, that we cannot go into election when blood is everywhere. The same in 2020, and we are still on that point. And that's why I'm saying that why would the military be used as a sacrificial lamb here? The military has nothing to do. Why would the population also be used as sacrificial lamb? And I've elaborated a lot of points here. So that's why I'm saying that it is time for the military to take their responsibility, and not, if the Cameroon government can write a communique, because I recently saw a communique from the Minister of Communication, or the government spokesman, and trying to play a role and encouraging the Ukraine and Russia to sit on a table for dialogue. I said, but all these guys, this is pure hypocrisy. So these guys know the meaning of the word dialogue, and they are still adamant to show proof of sincere dialogue with their own brothers. The one even in Ukraine is 2 countries. President Paul Biya dialogued with the case in Bakassi. He used the dialogue approach.
His followers are saying that
President
he is
Paul
using the same
Biya
approach in the
no, President Paul
that
Biya.
his policy option is
No,
dialogue.
President Paul Biya had to negotiate with, he sent ministers to negotiate with renowned terrorists, Boko Haram, the whole world is aware of that, to free captives. So what is wrong that President Paul Biya himself, who is so much aware of the plight of the Anglo, he even testified it while in France, that he is very much aware that it's as a result of marginalization and assimilation. And what is so difficult for him to say, okay, because the word they always use is that they don't know who to dialogue with, but they know those they can target and arrest, those funding the crisis. So is it not funny that if you can identify those whom to you are funding the crisis, and you don't know whom you can dialogue with, there is a paradox somewhere.
But that question so, with whom to dialogue seems to be finding its place now that we have many groups, a lot of
Mr. Babila, to end the
cropping
up,
let
me tell you something about
among the secessionist movement.
Look, those guys, one thing about Mr. Babila, the arms
a lot of conflicts here and
no, those we should forget about what is in the diaspora. These guys who are carrying out the activities here in Cameroon, they don't hide. They don't hide. They are everywhere on social media. When they carry out an act, they demonstrate that they are the ones. And they are the ones in control of these zones. You see them well sophisticated. They have a mastery of the information within that area. So if those guys could have that level of information, that level of itinerary, where they can really bring the government down, and they don't hide. It's not as if they carry the activity and say, we don't know. In Njang, there's one guy called Tewa, he's called Ten Kobo. He says he's the general there and he has a mastery of all the movement. Whenever he hits, he comes on air. I am not the one advertising, but the government is very much aware because they are always on social media demonstrating their ability and making the world to know that they are in charge. There's another guy in a bui, he doesn't hide, he's called No Pity. Whenever he carries his activity, he tells you that I am the one and I am called No Pity. So do you think the government is not aware that there is a 10 kobo somewhere in Njang? There is a No Pity somewhere in a bui? There is how do we call the names that they always demonstrate? There's other one called Fee Marshall in Lady Alem. There is they have been calling their names. There are so many of them.
And you're saying that the military.
So why can the government have access to all those guys? The commander, like why can the government don't pinpoint? Because that's how the Niger Delta situation was solved. It was not solved by going abroad. It was solved by calling those guys who were holding the gun. I said that please, you people should come and let's talk. We are all Cameroonians. Because the situation on the terrain is as a result of an extremism. It's a result of extremism. People are pushed. Now they have to take radical position. But when you open a said dialogue, they are Cameroonians. The people perpetrating this act, Cameroonians killing Cameroonians, which is not good.
So, you're saying that the military should take up its responsibility.
Yes, the military needs to take up its responsibility.
And the same military is saying that they are taking up their responsibility by tracking down secessionist fighters and killing them and exposing their cops on the streets of Kumba, Bamenda, and so on.
Let me tell you something that I have been following. You know that I am a politician from that zone. So it is my duty to be well versed with the situation ongoing in the terrain. Let me tell you something. The level of Amber so-called generals, the number of casualties of the so-called Amber generals that have been killed as far as this crisis is concerned, it is as a result of their infighting. Meaning that those so-called Amber generals that they portray themselves from the beginning as Amber generals, it's not even the military that is even killing the Amber boys. It is as a result of their infighting that this camp attacks this camp attacks. So the military should not boast. To me, they should not boast that their option is paying. It means that if those guys were really united, we have been talking a different story. Most of those generals that they go and portray, they are just minute. But when we talk about real influential guys that have been really perpetrating this act, it's in-house fighting within the separatist camp, that this camp attacks this and kill, this camp attacks this and kill. So it is not really necessarily the military that is really carrying out and killing. And again, apart from that,
what do you think about those demonstration of corpses on the streets?
I think that it doesn't look. Even that's why I said from the onset that anybody killed in this crisis, be it the so-called Amber, be it military, be it a government official, be it whosoever, who is a victim of this senseless war, I feel so bad because Cameroonians are killing each other. Cameroon is, first of all, the population of Cameroon is just, as per se, is not even up to 30 million. And we have so many vast land and people are dying on a daily basis. Because of what? Because of what? Because of the attitude of some individuals. That's why I'm calling on our Francophone brothers that it is time that by now they would have been on the street as an act of solidarity to hold the Yaoundé regime responsible, that please, Cameroonians should stop killing Cameroonians. Do you think if there is a will from the side of the government to really open a sincere dialogue and call all those guys and give a general amnesty, because that's what we are proposed. Give a general amnesty to whosoever whom you suspect. Release all what is okay now. What if I ask you what is Seseko, Mancho, and the others still doing now in prison? Because they heard them that they were the ones funding the war and all the like, but they are still. Has the war stopped? No. And even if today you claim to kill the so-called generals, that is the names are just elaborated, those 10 Cuba and all, like those generals that portray themselves on the social media that they are the ones responsible for all the attacks and all that. Those are names. Even if you kill, new ones will still come up. So it's an ideology. You can't use gun to silence an ideology. New ones will still come up. They have their assistants. Without their group like that, they have first, second, third, and so on. They have mid-general, they have colonel, they have field marshal. There are so many. So as you kill this, the next one takes over the command. You kill this one, the next one takes, and that is not what I want. This is not what we PAP we prayed for. No, because Cameroonians need to sit as one. If Cameroon government will be telling Russia and Ukraine to sit, two different countries, and what stops them from calling their fellow brothers, grant an amnesty and say, well, both sides, we have all made errors. The government, we have made errors. Yeah, it's true. We wanted this and so forth. Let's sit and talk. What do people want and so forth? You don't say we want to dialogue and you are already giving conditions. Okay, let us assume that their so-called national dialogue was as a result of the special status. Okay, this is special status that you projected as a solution to the problem. But I am shocked that in the Northwest and Southwest, because when they say something is special, special means immediately it is you put discuss and you agree, it takes into effect. Because it was, that special status was something to solve an immediate crime. 2 years up to date. Appointed governors are still the one managing the affairs. What image are you even telling the Anglophones, the people of former West Cameroon, that the solution that you claim is a solution to their problem, the special status? If the government was really serious, they would have taken into effect the following week. You take a decree and say, as from now henceforth, please, DIOs, the SDOs, governors, please, appointed governors, especially for the 2 English-speaking regions, I stop appointing, so that please, elected presidents or regional presidents, take over your responsibility. But you cannot tell people that you want a solution to give to them, and at the same time, in the terrain, your policies are still ongoing. You are not showing anything favorable to even prove that this thing is, you are ready to
some of the mayors who took part in a seminar organized by the National School of Local Administration, NASLA in Boya, were saying that this special status cannot be effective until there is effective discharge of power and finance from the central administration down to the local administration.
That is it. Mr. Babila, just to round up, let me just say something. You think if Mr. Okala Bilai was a born and bred, he's a Cameroonian, no doubt, but I'm saying that if he was a born and bred Cameroonian from Southwest, do you think all these issues that he just go go back and stay in Douala, he will feel the pinch? He would have maybe hit hard on the regime in Yaoundé to do something as a governor. I'm saying if he was an elected governor or from the Northwest or from Southwest, he would have felt what it means. That is it. If also the other man in Northwest, if he was from a man born and bred from Northwest, he would have felt the pain, what it takes to see his region going through what is going through. But they don't care. The man, they live in one lives in Buddha. He lives in Buddha and goes and when there's something, he goes and does. He goes his one-man show in Bamenda. Likewise, Father Bilal does his one-man show, and they go back.
Isn't it gross exaggeration to say that they don't care?
No. You see them on the field every now and then taking risk. Can the governor tell us?
Go to some of those places.
Can the governor, a whole governor who says he's the governor? Okay, yeah. They said he's the governor, the patron in charge of that region. You are unable. You are telling the population to collaborate and the population to do so, stay calm. With all the intelligence that the Cameroon military claim to have, they can't tell Cameroonians the whereabouts of representatives or ministers in a division. I'm talking about regional delegate. You can't tell the population. You can't tell the population who are those responsible to even tell us that we have been able to put the hand on those responsible for the killing of students in a college in Equinoxe Titi and with a teacher to date. You can't tell Cameroonians up to date that the killing of the regular explosives in Boya and other areas, you can't even dictate those responsible. So that's why I'm saying that, to me, either there's the lack of the will, or there is something somewhere that needs to be done, and that's why it still boils down. The population they have over suffered. They should not still keep on using the name the population. They have the suffering that the suffering nature of the population is more than what they can bear any longer. So the only thing, if you people are unable to guarantee the security to your population, is for you to table your resignation. Simple. That's how it is.
The primary duty.
By now, President Pobia would have tabled resignation. I am unable to guarantee that security, and I'm able to bring peace. Please, I think I need to resign this time around for someone else to take over. He has done his best, and I don't think, because the main problem that we have now, as of now, the person blocking solutions to this crisis is the president, Obia himself. He has a yam and a knife. His ministers are just president, governors. I don't blame them. They themselves can still do something to mount pressure on their boss to say, please.
Now, how can he be saying that I want to solve this problem? I want peace to return to the northwest and southwest regions. I want the killings and the destruction to come to an end. And at the same time, and then taking some actions, organizing the major national dialogue and other things, and then you're saying that he does not want to solve the problem.
Almost all what Cameroonians are supposed to get as their right always comes through manifestation or at times bloodshed. Mean that a leader who doesn't anticipate, only precipitate, because that's how it was. Throughout Mr. President Paul Biya's 40 years in reign as president, he has always been precipitating rather than anticipating, and that is not good for a leader. For example, do you know, yes, it is true that Anglophones were very angry, the change of name, when he unilaterally changed the name. He knew that was the problem, that changing the name from the supposed United, that was also a problem, to the Republic of Cameroon will raise a problem. And Anglophones did not relax. They were not happy. And they manifested that. That led to the 1996 Constitution to solve the Anglophone problem, because you had to AAC1, AAC2, and so forth and so on, had to solve the 1996 Constitution, of which in that 1996 Constitution, Mr. Babila, there was an allocation of an article for a special status. Cameroonians should know that the special status that CPDM militants move around and make noise that President Pobia, no. That special status was already enshrined in the 1996 Constitution to solve that problem of that marginalization. But because a president that does not have the feeling and the will to do it, he kept it aside, like Article 66 of Declaration of Assets, that he has refused for it to be implemented. So that special status was never implemented. It was in the 1996 Constitution, it was not Paul. So he had to wait for so long, even to implement the decentralization, who was there to solve a problem that affect all Cameroonians, plus that special status. President Paul had to wait for 25 years before he started making action. He had to wait for people to kill each other, for Cameroonians for blood to share, before he came back and said, let's look into that special status through a national dialogue. So Cameroonians should not be deceived. He never gave. He was just there to implement. And to tell you that he is not even willing to really resolve a pressing issue, a burning issue as this. He would have. The first thing that would have done is that, well, there's a crisis. The first thing that immediately is an emergency. Immediately after the Grand National Dialogue and there's a special treaty that has been implemented, and you know that, okay, there is a crisis, war ongoing, let me carry out visible measures that are seen. The first thing is that what? Let me withdraw everything, create a ceasefire. One. The first thing, you create a ceasefire. Ceasefire, I'm not saying that you withdraw. I mean, ceasefire is like what is happening now.
The guns go down.
Yes,
no
guns
more
go down. No more shooting. That's the first assurance to tell the population I am with you. Secondly, I am releasing all those guys that are arrested. It's true. There's a time now for us to forgive each other. Release everybody. Seseko, Mancho, BBC, your boy. Release everyone. We are not saying that those who committed crime by looting, killing, and so forth. Maybe, I mean, those who were arrested in line with the Anglophone crisis. Okay, I am giving a general amnesty to all those whom the government has earmarked as being behind the killing of, are being sponsoring. General amnesty, please. I am giving all of you a sign. Come and let's. You see, those are the accompanying measures. From then now, okay, and then now henceforth, no more appointment of governors in the two regions. Now henceforth, the special takes its full effect. Regional presidents, you can, and then at least, even though I am not in line with the special teaching, but at least it will even show some will. That is someone that really has a will, but
no,
the will is not there.
Does the fact that the president is not moving at your pace mean that he is blocking the solution?
What would you call a leader? A leader, what is the role of a leader? A leader does not move on his pace. I am shocked when I hear some CPDM people come on platform and they even ridicule the so-called leadership. A leader, when they say the time of the president is not the time for the people, and I doubt. A leader moves in line with what the population wants. There is no leader on earth that says I lead people and then his leadership is not in line with the demand of the population. Then whom are you leading? Who are those that voted you that you claim you have voted? If you cannot lead by that, because you can see the population requires this, the population wants this, and you say it is at your own time. Then you would have also chosen your own time and proclaim yourself a president without passing through election. Because when you pass through election, it is a form to get the mandate from the people to accompany them in what they want. And at the time when they want this, you turn your back. You don't bother. You start talking about teachers and other. There's price hikes in everywhere. You are not even pushed. Nothing, and you come and say you are waiting for your own time. Is it your personal property?
Mr. President,
is Cameroon the personal property of Paul Biya that he has his own time to handle things?
We are going
Let
to
him go to his farming in Bomeka and be having time where he can harvest. In Cameroon every Cameroonian has equal right to request and demand for an improvement of his own.
All right, Mr. President, we are going to take some few interviews and we'll be right back in a moment.
On behalf of the head of state and the entire government, we came here to assess the situation and to reassure the population that the head of state and all his government are there, are behind the population of Equinoxe, and that as the head of state always said, all the means will be put in place to neutralize those evil forces, those who want to destabilize Njang division, those who want to destabilize the Southwest and the entire nation. As I said in my message, the forces of evil will never prevail on the forces of good. The state is for good for everybody. The state is working for the security of the population. And the population of Equinoxe should remain reassured that from the head of state, from the prime minister, who is a son of this place, and from the entire government, all means are being put in place to eradicate this phenomenon of terrorist attack. The population of Njang division are known for their patriotism, for their peaceful way of life, so they should not panic they are not abandoned, as some may believe. The state is there, and the state will continue to protect them. That is the message I carry from the head of state to deliver to the population of Kondo Titi and Njang Division, to tell them that they should continue to collaborate with the authority of the state and to believe in the head of state.
You cannot bring thugs and with machetes and come and terrorize the people. I mean, there was bloodshed over there. We cannot have this continue. This is a threat to the Bonjongo people. This is a threat to the Bonjo Court area, because as it started here now, if it is not checked, it will spread all over. The people of Bonjongo are extremely angry. I've done my best to try and calm them down. So, they are ready to defend their land. What is theirs is theirs. Anybody who is dealing with these guys and trying to take what belongs to the people of Bonjongo is doing so at his or her own risk.
Those people around us who think that land grabbing, illegal sales of land is the way to go should know that the Bonjongo people will not stand for it. And we are all running behind our chief to ensure that all our land comes back to the people.
We are in the train station in Krakow. The city of Krakow, the government made a hearing the point for Ukraine, to help Ukraine. So we're trying to find the place for sleep to every person who coming to us. It's not depends. This is a person from Ukraine, have a passport from Pakistan, Uzbekistan, different country. Our government trying to find the place for everyone who are coming here. We offer hot food, we offer coffee, tea, water, sweets for children, the place to stay on the train station if people need it, medical care.
To help refugees and guiding them how to, arrange some basic stuff like accommodation, transportation. We help them with navigating around this area, and also we're trying to provide like basic stuff for blankets, food, coffee, tea, beverages, and so on.
Thank you for staying with us. Teachers have been out of the classrooms for over 2 weeks now, protesting against poor treatment by government. They are demanding for better working conditions and for their rights to be respected. And despite the outcry from the civil society, political leaders and right defenders, especially those working in the area of the rights of the child, the rights of children, particularly the right to education. The protest has been going on, and the government is still struggling to provide solutions, with some few meetings held here and there with the protesting teachers in view of finding solutions. Njang Denis, what do you think about this issue of poor treatment of teachers who, for some, who have been teaching for 10 years, 15 years and more, and not having what they are normally due, not having what they're supposed to receive?
Thank you very much. In my local understanding of the society, in every society, I know that there are some professions that we call a noble, like the legal profession, the teaching profession. They are called noble because they act like moral authorities. They are like the voice of the voiceless. They are like the cry of the common man. In fact, they are the ones that they have direct link with the realities in the society. And any serious government that wants to build a credible society, don't joke with those professions. There is not by error that they call teachers sir. It is a title, it's an honorary title, sir. Why? Because we know that in England, with the Anglo-Saxon system, in the English community or the English culture in England itself, that sir title is not given to anybody. Sir title, you must excel with a lot of successes, with excellence, where the queen or the king, or let me say the crown, decides to honor you with the title sir. based on your field of success. But you see that with the Anglo-Saxon system, all teachers are automatically bearing the title, said it's an honorary title. Why? Because of the value and the credibility, the morality, what they pass. We are all been students. Not forgetting that I myself am a teacher. It's true that I did the law, but I'm a teacher also because the professions are almost similar. So this is not the first time that teachers have been crying for a better condition. The Anglophone crisis that we are just talking today, started with the poor method of curriculum. That's the method the Anglophone teachers started attacking the government of the poor manner of teaching on the educational system being imposed on the Anglophone, on the Anglo-Saxon system. The government retaliated by what we have today. That has always been their retaliation. Well, I'm happy that today the disease is crossing. But this time around, they are not talking about poor working condition. Poor curriculum. They are talking about their working condition. 10 years, 7 years, arrears, advancement, everything blocked. And to tell you how insensitive a system is, that I just talked about a system that does not anticipate and doesn't have any feeling, nothing. They don't have any attachment to the cry of the common man. See how silent they are. I'm following the teachers. Teachers have written several manifestos, several communiques, requesting for better condition, and even promising strike actions. It's not the first year. They will do their normal divide and roll, call some individuals, try to give them money, rather than talking with the main leaders of the strike action. They will rather call some individuals, like what they do with the Anglophone, and try to give you money and see how you survive. Or maybe go and meet some regional, divisional delegates, or regional delegates, or maybe principals, and try to give them money to say, okay, you can fit in, even PT. This is not even an issue of the Secretary General or the Prime Minister's office, or of the Prime Ministry. Because at this juncture that I speak, they want the government, as I said, a government that does not anticipate. The level at which these teachers, do the government need to sit and wait for teachers to cry that long? To cry at this level. I'm happy that at the level of PAP, we were one of those who came out with some declarations, came out with a communique in support of the plight of the teachers. I think it was called Death Chalk, something like that. That's it.
Operation
Death Chalk. I think I was there. These other guys, Mr. Sambaka and all like. So Damjoya's wife, Patricia, we all came and we gave our support to what the teachers are undergoing. Because you cannot tell me that those who are the mirror of the society, the education of every community, the reflection of every community in the world is the type of education that they have. And if those who are in charge of giving out such an education, they are poorly treated, then there is a problem. Because at this juncture, it's not even the Prime Ministry. When the Nation Cup was about to begin, when there were rumors of whether Cameroon holds the Nation Cup or not hosting the Nation Cup, all alike, we saw manifestations from the various stages. How the workers came and said the teachers are they are not want to work and so forth. We saw the action of immediate prompt reaction of the president. He had to sign this, he had to sign communique requesting assistance from the IMF, requesting assistance from this. He had to borrow, and so that the stages will be completed. Even with all the borrowing and all the like, with the poor nature of the stadia, President Pobia was still bent on still having access to billions to assist. Do you know that as of recent, about 40 cars, I'm sure each of those cars will not be less than 30 million. 40 have been distributed to other divisional officers as, I don't know, they say presidential gift. If we evaluate the price of 30 million for that 40 cars, it can even resolve these teachers, the problem of these teachers, even for 2 or 3 years to even solve them. So now, at the end, what is a meeting? They will give them promises. We want more called prompt. The government of Cameroon cannot tell me that there is no money to resolve the crisis of the teacher. Do you know what it costs what it costs to maintain the military in the northwest and the southwest? Do you know how much the government spends on daily basis just to maintain the presence of the military in the north and southwest? If we want to evaluate, I am not an expert to think of that, but if I want to evaluate, I don't think the government spend less than $1 billion less than $1 billion each month just to maintain military presence on something that we have been requesting for just to dialogue. So which is the priority?
Government is targeting.
What is their priority? What is their priority?
At the same time,
to go and spend? No, the government is not targeting. The government neglects certain issues. To them, it means nothing. To them, it is insignificant. Why they target the ones that they feel will rather protect their grip in power, protect their authority, and so forth. So, to me, the plight of the teachers, I support, and I will tell the teachers to continue in that light until their demands are heard. Prompt, not issues of promising or calling some individuals who they can use to divide the teachers, because I see some principals already trying to carry out sanctions. No.
What about the children who are paying the price, especially those who are preparing for official
exams? I was just about coming there. I was just about coming before you just interrupted. That's what you need to see. The teacher, the students themselves, that's where my cry is. And that is where I ask, do we really have a government in this country? Is it something that has to do with the Secretary General and the presidency? Is it not something that it has to do with the president himself? Taking prompt decisions and call and say, please, this is what is happening, that I'm seeing my teachers' children are parading everywhere. Like what he did in handling the issue of the can. When the press made a release that those who were victims of the stampede.
The stampede at the Olympics.
The Olympic Stadium have been abandoned by the government. What did Pobia do? Immediately it disbursed 80-something million. So what is happening that President Pobia with teachers everywhere, those models of this community, those who are in charge to define the policies of how the country goes, and you are just relaxed. He doesn't care. Even the so-called Secretary General that I term Vice President of the country, that when there's any issue, he always says from what is happening that high instructions does not favor teachers. Because we have been receiving from high instructions.
Those later,
so I don't know if the high instruction does not favor teachers, where they can say, okay, from the high instruction of the head of state, he has disbursed this. We are still waiting for that.
You are saying that the teachers should continue with the strike action.
They have to continue.
Those who are close to government are saying that they should be patient and that they shouldn't continue in this manner because they are going to be jeopardizing the education, the future of young Cameroonians who are supposed to be the leaders of tomorrow.
Mr. Babila, that is the highest act of hypocrisy. If you can give a lot of advantages to other professions, they have a lot of advantage. DOs, SDOs, how do we call these other people? Regional daily and all the like principal. You give them some of those advantages, outstation benefits. They go here. Why will a minister not also ask himself that, okay, I'm there to serve my country? When he has to do outstation, my salary I keep aside and let me carry out my duty to serve my country. No.
And somebody raised
Mr. Babila, the teachers are demanding, but they are right. They are not even asking an increment to improvement. When they say they are not even requesting an improvement on their work condition, they are even requesting what is due theirs that the government owes. Advancement, salaries that have not been paid, allowances. That's what is due, which is every year we hear of budgets, heavy billions that have been allocated at the level of the educational sector.
And somebody raised
somebody come and tell me here that you should go and teach, and you have to portray patriotism, you have to love, and so forth. So do you know the meaning of the word patriotism?
And somebody
so
raised
patriotism simply means
a social media user raised a paradox concerning the teachers who teach their students, and even those who teach in primary school, they teach their pupils who grow up in the academic ladder, and then they progress and become division officers, senior division officers, directors, general managers of state corporations, and so on. And the teachers who taught them are neglected, and all the advantages given to them.
I want to also add to that paradox. Do you know that there was one time that President Paul Biya paid a visit, I think, was it in Ebolowa? And he could recognize his teacher, that he granted an audience to one of his teachers that taught him maybe in the primary school. Meaning that President Paul Biya is conscious. to know the value of a teacher. He could recognize his teacher that told him and even granted the teacher an audience that led him to speak with the teacher. And then why is he so insensitive to the plight of the teachers today? So this boils back to the fact that these people know what they are doing. But at the end of the day, since their interest is not to guarantee the interest of a common man, it's for them to, for their personal self-advertisement, anything that would portray their political touch or to prove that they are in position, political imposition. That's where they focus on. You will not tell me that football, yes, I love football, it's an entertainment, that you will invest so much billions, hundreds of billions in football, without you anticipating that teachers are supposed to have something
on the future,
of the teachers. You spend huge amount of money, go and buy Prados that were 30 million and give to DIOs, divisional officers who call themselves chefs. They tell all the advantages that surround them. And you tell me that those who are responsible for the upkeep of our children are neglected and rejected.
I put some of these questions concerning the strike of teachers and the situation in the northwest and southwest regions of the country to a member of the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM political party, a politician, member of the Central Committee of the CPDM, Fru Jonathan. Take a listen to what he told us. You're an elite of Anglophone Cameroon, precisely from the northwest region of the country, and you've been following up everything that's been happening over there as far as the security crisis that's been going on for over 5 years is concerned. And in the latest tragedy recorded in the southwest region, precisely in the Njang division in Bekora village, the division officer of Ekondo Titi and the mayor of that locality, 5 other persons were killed in an ambush by armed men. What's your take about this?
When this crisis started some 5 years behind, no one believed that it will last up to 6 months. Why? Because our country had gone through several crises, particularly our borders, Boko Haram with Nigeria and so on. And these crises were rapidly handled by the government. So everyone felt that the Anglophone crisis was going to be handled in a similar way. But unfortunately, the crisis has been rocking for over 5 years, and the end is not yet clear. We will understand that it is because the Anglophone crisis is one of the most complex that this country has ever had. Complex because the crisis is very different from other crises that Cameroon went through. We discovered that the Anglophone crisis is sort of evolutive. It is not static. In fact, you can describe it like a chameleon. When you touch it, it changes its form. And continuously, the form is changing, and that's why it makes it difficult to handle it. You will remember that when this crisis started, it was a question of corporate demands by the teachers and the lawyers, which of course the government did address them accordingly. The head of state opened up dialogue with the teachers through the Prime Minister, who was displaced to Bamenda. Several teachers, several ministers, government and cabinet ministers traveled to Bamenda to examine this crisis. Then the problems, which were a few problems, like 7 demands, suddenly moved to more than 20 demands. Of course, the government did address them through dialogue, and most of those problems were solved. Then the crisis changed its form. It was no longer corporate demands, but now secession, the problem of secession. And the government had to come in to address now a new problem, which is that of secession. And the government banned that movement and used every legal method to stop their activities. The crisis at that level moved further. It became a problem of terrorism, as military and security officers were attacked by the secessionists. So the government had to equally respond to the new form of the crisis, which was now acts of terrorism. The government had to deploy security defense forces to the field to protect our territory and to protect the population.
But,
then the crisis changed still, because it were no longer simple acts of terrorism or secession, but people were kidnapped, tortured, ransomed, asking for ransom, and so on. So now that is where we are now. And it's no longer what we had from the beginning. So at each level, the government has to change its approach, has to come up with new solutions, and the crisis keep evolving.
Some civil society and political leaders think that the crisis has been changing like this, worsening, because government has not been handling it properly. Government has not been solving the problems, providing the appropriate solutions to the various problems that you cited.
That would be a wrong conclusion or a wrong interpretation of the situation, because the government, as I said, has addressed each form the crisis has taken. You will admit with me that virtually all the problems that the teachers raised and the lawyers raised, the government did address them. If you look into the balance sheet, you will admit me, we cannot go back to them because there were so many of them. The effects, the impact has been felt because the teachers are back to the classroom, the lawyers are back to the courts. Now, when it comes to the question of secession, the government had addressed it because they banned this movement, and the government ensured that the security forces on the field to protect our territory.
The deployment of security and defense forces is said to be the cause of the killings that we are seeing today. What do you think about that? Is it a solution, or it's rather provoking more destruction and killings with regards to what has been happening?
You need to understand and appreciate the role our security forces play. We have the military, we have the gendarmerie, we have the police. What is their job? Their job is to protect the citizens, to ensure that there is order in the country, so that the laws are respected, the rules are respected. That is their role. And if they are deployed to the field where there are acts of terrorism, it is but normal that they are doing just their job. The government couldn't do otherwise. The government can hear that people have taken arms unilaterally. There's a legal procedure to own arms, but they take arms to fight their nation, to destroy their nation, destroy buildings, destroy property, and the government stays aloof. The government must deploy these forces to defend and protect this property and protect the population, because that's their role. They're doing just their role. So if the government didn't send the military, I think we will have to blame the government, because what is the use of the military? What is the use of the police and the gendarmes? They are going to protect the population. So I think they are just in their role, and we should encourage and appreciate what they are doing on the field now. Unfortunately, most of them are losing their lives, but I think we should really, really appreciate and thank the government for doing all they can to protect the citizens of this country and their property.
The soldiers are doing their job, as you said, of protecting the population and the territorial integrity of the country. But at the same time, a lot of atrocities have been attributed to the same soldiers, killing pupils, killing civilians. The most recent was in Ayaba Hotel in Bamenda, where a soldier gunned down 2 persons. And before that, we had a pupil killed in Bamenda, another one killed in Boya, and so on and so forth. Burning down of houses, villages, indiscriminate shooting, and things like that that have been attributed to that military.
What you must understand is that when you are in a war situation, everything becomes difficult to control. And people act unilaterally, people act indiscriminately, people do things without respecting the law. And various incidents are registered each time we have a war situation. But it's important to verify and understand what happened.
What do you read within the lines of the killing of state officials? The most recent is the divisional officer of Equinoxe Titi, and other local authorities who are also caught up in the crossfire. The divisional officer of Equinoxe Titi, the mayor of Equinoxe Titi, and 5 other persons ambushed, an explosive device detonated, and they are all killed.
The crisis in the Anglophone regions, the crisis have attained a level which has become like an industry, a flourishing industry where people are making personal gains from it. In fact, there are actors on the field who will not want this crisis to end because they're reaping a lot of money. Imagine those people who arrest, kidnap innocent citizens and ask for ransom. There are some who pay up to 10 million, 20, even up to 50 million to release the captives. So today it is an industry. So they are making a lot of gains from it. And they will not want the war to end. And in order to keep the flame of the war burning, they have to carry out acts of atrocity and touch even on government officials, kill them, kidnap them, so that the war should be, so that the population or everyone should believe that war is going on. These are isolated acts that are carried out. They are not general. You will see that when things get calm, after a few weeks, a few months, they attack one area, capture the people, kidnap or kill them. So it is a whole machinery that is turning on and on.
And before the Kondo Titi incident, there were 6 delegates who were abducted, 1 killed, and today we don't know what's happened to the others. But the worry of many is that the government has been practically silent about the whereabouts, the fate of these state officials who were captured by armed men.
People will interpret silence on the part of government because the government has not gone to the press to declare, make one declaration or another. But I think the government action is on. When innocent people are captured like that, the government goes on to investigate and they put the intelligence, the security forces go on the field to try to identify where they are and release them. It's not necessary for the government to tell the public the strategy they're using, but the government is doing everything to ensure that these people are released or they are found. And you will admit that if the government, the representative of the head of state, who is a duo, is attacked and killed, it means that there's no complicity on part of government. The government is fighting the crisis. The duo who was killed was going out on an official mission. Unlike other crises like with Boko Haram in the north, extreme north, where we find the population fighting the enemy. We find vigilante groups functioning very well and facing the opponent. With the crisis in the northwest and southwest, those who are favoring the crisis are within. You can live with someone in the same home and he is collaborating with the terrorists and you don't know. You can have the storekeeper who is just next to you, with whom you do business, but who is equally a spy, an agent of the terrorists, and you don't know. So it makes the situation very, very complicated, and anyone can be a victim at any time.
The governor of the Southwest region visited the area and called on the people of Kondo Titi and the Njang division and the whole of Southwest region as a whole to collaborate with the military in order to find lasting solutions to this problem, to put an end to the destruction and the killings going on. And we also heard the 2 generals at the head of the 2nd Gendarmerie and military regions calling on the population to collaborate with them. But the question that we'll continue asking until we see the end of the tunnel, until we go back to our peace, we go back to the stability that those 2 regions had before 2016, before late 2016, is how to get out of this, how to come out of this situation where we are now.
There is no situation like this, or no problem like this one which cannot have a solution. As I said before, the difficulty today is the evolutive nature of this problem. But what we must understand is that where there's a problem of this nature, there are various actors involved. The government is just one of the actors. Maybe we can put it as the main actor. But there are several other actors who are involved in the search for solution. And until we come up with a very comprehensive approach, a systemic approach, where this problem is addressed at the same time, in the same way, by all those actors. In fact, we have to come up today with a strategic plan, well thought, well calculated, and involving all the actors to attack this problem. You understand that we have sporadic approaches. At one moment, one group in one region or one division, master division, will come up with an approach with their own solution. They may solve the problem at that area at that time, but the problem is continuing in other areas. Today, we think that the actors, when I talk about actors, I'm referring to the political actors. The politicians must be on the field to talk to their militants, to educate them and sensitize them. The churches must be there to educate their Christians, sensitize them. The traditional authorities must be there to talk to their population. The civil society. In fact, if all these groups are organized and within a given period, say 6 months, all of us will fall back to the field to support government action. Each person talking to his group. I think it will take us nearer to the solution. We cannot fold our arms and look on President Paul Biya or his government. We have to, all of us, go back home.
This is something that late Christian Cardinal Tumi wanted to do when he wanted to organize the Anglophone General Conference. He wanted to bring the people together to think together and draft out something like what you were saying, a plan to solve this problem. And of course, to see what are the root causes of the problem and what should be done to solve this problem. Now, are you suggesting that something like this should be organized, bringing together all the Anglophones to think together, to look towards the same direction and see the problem from the same perspective and look at what are the possible solutions?
That is at least the best one can propose for now. Because, as I said, the problem is now becoming an in-house issue. It's now becoming a problem of the Anglophones. Because those who are suffering, the majority, I will not say only, the majority of those who are suffering are Anglophones from Northwest and Southwest. Because they are the ones who are losing their families. They are the ones who are losing their property. It is the economy of the Northwest and the Southwest that is being destroyed by this crisis. Those who are destroying, terrorizing, and killing are equally Northwesterners. I think a majority of them are from the region, because when you go down to the field, you will discover that the various terrorist camps are manned by our own children, our own brothers and sisters. So it now becomes like an in-house issue. We cannot say, we'll go and ask somebody from I don't know where to come and look at this problem. We have to sit down ourselves and look at it. And as I said, we have various actors already well constituted. Imagine that in all the churches, there are so many churches, conventional and others who are preaching, if they are preaching the same language. Imagine that all the funds are talking to their notables and the notables talking to their population. Imagine that all the politicians who are on the field every day carrying out political activities are speaking the same language, using the same strategy. Then we should be able to make a step forward. And as I said, this can be well calculated, and each person has a mandate with specific objectives to meet on the field, with a time frame to carry out these objectives. And when we go start, we can come back after a few months and evaluate. Each actor, each group will be able to express its difficulties, then we keep adjusting until we find a solution. If we don't do that, then we sit and fold our arms to wait for government. It becomes very difficult, because others are think that the government should go out rightly and eliminate the terrorists. But I think we have a head state whose vision, whose policy is based on man, on the well-being of the Cameroonian. And the well-being of Cameroonian means he should be alive, healthy, he should have a house, he should be able to dress himself and so on. That is the vision of the president. He doesn't want to spill blood.
The head of state does not want to spill blood, does not want even those who have picked up guns are in the bushes to die, as you have said. But that is what is happening on the ground today. And many are blaming the head of state for that. The soldiers tracking down the people who are in the bushes, killing them and so on. And recently there was a corpse of one of the leading separatist fighters exposed on the streets of Kumba and things like that. So who is giving the command if the head of state does not want that to happen? He is the chief of the armed forces. And that's why people are channeling all the blames to him for the killings that are going on.
The head of state is in command, of course, but the government is not an individual that you can touch. The government is a whole system, made of subsystems, each one functioning the way it is programmed to work. The Minister of Defense knows his job, he knows what he has to do. The Delegate General of National Security knows what he has to do. The DO, the governors, each person is carrying out his own job as defined by the text. So today, they are doing their job. They have as responsibility to protect the citizens, to protect their property. And they are doing just that. If in the course of doing that, there are casualties, it is because they were doing their job. People cannot unilaterally take arms to kill others, and we fold our arms and watch them. We have to stop them from doing that. So the head of state has given the opportunity to those who are on the field, even though they've killed, even though their hands have blood on it, that they should come out and be rehabilitated, trained to become normal citizens. I think that's the best the president can do. These terrorists have refused to come out. Even today, as we are talking, the DDR centers are open. Any terrorist who lays down his arm and comes, you're welcome. Nobody will go back to find out how many people he has killed to punish him. On the contrary, he will be received and rehabilitated. That is the approach which the president is using now. So I think it is left on these terrorists, left on us to encourage them to come out. Let us stop this war, because if for 5 years they can't be able to move 1 inch on their journey to Boya, they should rather give up and come back and let us build our country. So there's no reason for them to stay in the bushes again. The government is doing its job. In course of doing it, there may be casualties, of course, it's normal, but the war must end. If the war ends, then all this will be over. So, and we know that even those who are preaching secession find it difficult to control the situation, because bandits have come in. People have come in to get money, to kidnap, kill, and get money. So it's important for government to stay on to defend these people, protect our citizens.
Right. Some right defenders think that they shouldn't be referred to as terrorists, but rather as armed fighters, not terrorists.
Now, if you take up arms against the nation, then we are terrorists, because we have a united country. The constitution talks of a united Cameroon, a single nation, with a head of state, with a government, with a constitution, and so on. Anyone who takes up arms to fight the nation, the state, first of all, you can't succeed. No one can succeed to fight the state. And if you want to fight the state, you are a terrorist. If you take up arms illegally, in this country, you can own an arm. There's a procedure. You apply through the Minister of the Administration, and you can be given the authorization to carry an arm. That procedure is clear.
For over 2 weeks now, teachers of government schools across the Republic have been on strike, and they are saying enough is enough. They're denouncing and decrying poor treatment by the education authorities, and many of them asking for allowances which they should have been paid several years back and they have not received, and many other problems of poor working conditions What's your reaction to these teachers who have been out of the classrooms for over 2 weeks now?
We really feel sorry for the teachers because all of us who are here, if we're talking here, if we are progressing in our lives, achieving, is because we passed through the hands of teachers. Teaching is such a noble profession that has to be protected and supported. So I think we are encouraging our teachers to be patient, to be a bit tolerant, and not to give up. But however, I want to say the question of strikes is not new in our country or in any country. For me, strikes sometimes, when they're successfully carried out, people are given the opportunity to express themselves. It is still another level of a democratic society. You know that in this country, several years, maybe some 40 years back, you could not dare stand up to condemn or criticize the government or even complain. But today, the government has given the opportunity to its citizens, when you feel that you're not satisfied with government action, to come out and express it. And that is just what the teachers are doing. And you will know that in all democratic countries, go to Western Europe, into America and so on, you will find people on the streets every day because people are looking for better conditions of life. You may think that the salary in Cameroon is very low, but you will see some countries that have very high salaries, yet they're still going on the street because they want their conditions to be ameliorated. So under these conditions, we know the teachers have lots of arrears that have not been paid. The teachers may not get the best treatment which they want to get. But what is important is that we have a government that has a listening ear to the problems of the citizens.
Some of the teachers listening to you now, saying that government has a listening ear and that they should be patient. We will certainly be asking the question, for 10, 15, 18 years and more, government hasn't listened to them, and you're still asking them to be patient?
The government is listening to them. The government has received their leaders. It has given them the opportunity to express themselves, to put their problems on the table. And I think that is the approach of this government. That is the approach of President Paul Biya, that of dialogue. You will admit with me that it's difficult to find a perfect society. And as I said, even in those societies where we think there's perfection, that everything is fine, we still find people on the street. So it means that the first step which the government has taken, that of inviting the leaders to discuss their problem, is already a step which we should appreciate. It's already the beginning of the solution. Their problems, of course, are authentic, they're real, but it becomes difficult for government to solve all problems at the same time. But the first thing is that the government should listen to them, and that the government should start addressing these problems. And I'm sure in the near future, the problem will be addressed. You should understand that when we look at government action, the government has problems that it has to address from all angles. Look at the Anglophone problem we're talking about. Look at Boko Haram in the north. Look at, in fact, there are so many problems the government has to address. Theirs to come is an important problem, because if the educational system of the country collapses, I think the country has no future. At least we should have everything. We can lose everything, but we can't lose our education, because without education, then how shall we develop? And that's why the profession of the teacher becomes a noble profession, which we have to protect, and we have to be in solidarity with them, to encourage them, to appeal to them, as we said, not to let our children pay the price, because if they don't teach, the price will be paid by our children. So they could go to the table, talk with the government, and give the opportunity to the government to solve their problems.
All right, we're rounding up with this edition of The Inside. President Njang Denis.
Yes.
If there were to be two words that will solve all these issues that we're talking about, what would be those two words that you will ask the President of the Republic and the authorities of this country, and why not all Cameroonians, to act on?
Well, one, because since you have said just 2 words, the one I will try, or the word that I have for those who are in power, see that the ones that take the decision, the word I have for them is to tell the leadership of this country, the person that incarnates the leadership of this country, that he has tried his best, and we don't need a divided and a destructive Cameroon. He should table his resignation, because it, first of all, is not any longer on his side. It is our country. It's a country for Cameroonians. But the way I look at things, there are so many disgruntled angles that we don't even know where to start. So I believe that if he just need to table his resignation quietly, and if there is a transitional government that comes in, I don't know how it's going to take, but there is a need for a transitional government to fix things for new elections to be organized. And for the population,
before you go to the population, is it wise for a ship captain to abandon the ship in turbulent times?
It depends if the ship itself is already been abandoned when the captain is still there. The ship itself is already abandoned while the captain is still there. And because since the captain is still there in absentia, we are just telling the captain, please, let it be visible that you are not there. And let somebody, because the captain, the ship is totally empty. There is no, it's totally uncontrollable. It's totally uncontrolled, pardon.
Yeah.
For the population, I will say between my word, the population. Well, you saw what happened in Mali. It is our right to manifest, to come and say it's no longer moving, because if it's only talking, solution, and nothing is happening, rather we are getting from bad to worse, the population also have their responsibilities to request. It is a two-way issue. If you see that the leader is no longer moving, Cameroon is not the first. It happened in Egypt, it happened in Sudan, it happened in Mali, in Burkina Faso. The population came en masse on the street and carried out a peaceful demonstration requesting the resignation of the leadership and said, please, it is time that we need to see how we fix and sit and take our... Because any other thing apart from that, we'll sit here and we'll keep again and still one coming and winding up, and things will just be getting from bad to worse. And at the end, you can see that many people are now very, very uncomfortable to stay in the country. They are going, Cameroon is no longer comfortable. So, no, you people should come back. It is our country. And let's move this country ahead and change the leadership, even through a peaceful demonstration.
Njang Denis, National President of the Popular Action Party, thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being here.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of The Inside. Goodbye.